hands tonight. Joel will complete his 10th year of service on June 30th. And if you think about what's happened in the decades since Joel has been at the helm of Sewanee, really thinking about in early, on the macro side, in the bust of the tech bubble, in 9/11, and then he ends it as we're just coming out of the worst financial crisis in 75 years. And in the middle of that, there was a few bumps in the road with the Episcopal Church as well. So it's not been an easy 10 years by any stretch. But Joel has led us in that 10 years, and we've had remarkable progress there. And really has led us with a steady hand and a graceful presence, and we're really appreciative of that. And some of the achievements, and a lot of this group has been part of that. Certainly you think about the Sewanee Call campaign where we exceeded our goal and raised over $200 million. And they do say time is everything, so it's a good thing we finished that campaign. But that's enabled us to build new buildings and renovate older buildings. And Sewanee is a very different place than it was 10 years ago as you walk through campus. But the thing that had changed about Sewanee is just the great interaction between students and faculty, and the great place of really intense intellectual consideration and debate. And Joel has certainly shepherded that and helped grow that. And he's been very involved on a national basis with professional organizations and boards, which has enhanced Sewanee's reputation. Joel, we thank you for the many efforts, and we know none of it could be done without your trusted sidekick. And for all that you do, Trudy, and the many events you've been to on behalf of Sewanee and supporting Joel, we appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you all. Charlie, we are grateful for your leadership as president of the University's Associated Alumni, and we really appreciate, Trudy and I really appreciate your grace in welcoming us home to Chattanooga. Chattanooga is where we were undergraduates at the University of Chattanooga in the early 60s, and there are people in this room who could tell stories on us that probably wouldn't do us a lot of good. Nicky Barker, for example. We've agreed that we won't tell too many stories on each other from our undergraduate days, including some interesting Sunday afternoons at the Chi Omega House with Mickey and Kathy and Trudy and me. We have great affection for Chattanooga and for many of you for your gifts of love and support for the University of the South, and for us, we say warm thanks. To Carol Killebrew and Jason Luna, thank you particularly for your leadership for the Sewanee Club of Chattanooga. To Susan Askew, who organizes these events as the acting executive director of the Associated Alumni, and we've put on a lot of them, and it complicates things a little bit when you've got two vice chancellors to shepherd and try to keep out of ditches, and when you're trying to do more of these, some with some of us and some with others of us and some with all of us together. Congratulations and thank you, Susan, for the great work that you're doing. And Hugh Sharber, who's serving as a trustee of the university, thank you for your leadership and work for Sewanee. And if there are other trustees here, thank you too. It's one of these things with 150 trustees that the likelihood that I get it all right is not great, but thank you, Hugh, especially for your work for Sewanee in a great many ways. And particular thanks to John and Bonnie McCardle for the generous engagement that they are giving to the University of the South during this period from early January until John takes up the keys to the Vice Chancellor's office on the 1st of July. They've been remarkably generous with their time and interest and effort, and we're really quite grateful. We're making a number of these joint visits, and I tried to talk John and Susan into letting me just introduce John, and they said, no, you can't get away with that, cutting him. You have to do it in the other order. And it doesn't seem quite right to me, but I do want to say warm thanks to John and Bonnie for their enormous gifts and welcome. You've seen, or at least many of you have seen a bit about John and Bonnie, but let me just remind you, John is a distinguished American historian, a student and scholar of the South. He went to another institution that some may have heard of. It's in Virginia, Washington and Lee, and is a trustee there. We got a little excitement for that here. He's distinguished in a great many ways, but one is that in his work as a scholar, beginning as a doctoral student at Harvard, he was interested in the South and the idea of a Southern nation. And in his award-winning first book that arose from his dissertation, Sewanee played a major portion. And so when the search committee did, as many search committees of many liberal arts colleges have done, and said to the search consultant, could you get us John McCardle? The answer was, well, we've tried for a lot of places, including his alma mater. And the answer is no. He's started at Middlebury. He moved up through the ranks at Middlebury as dean and provost and president, and is now enjoying life as a faculty member. He said no to every institution that has expressed a hope that he would be willing to talk with them. But Sewanee, that search committee, was successful in drawing the McCardles, and we're grateful for that and look forward to outstanding success. John is recognized nationally as a distinguished leader in American higher education, a lifelong Episcopalian. He served his parish in Vermont as senior warden, and he's been an active member of a parish in Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, if that doesn't stretch around the whole of the American Episcopal Church, I'm not sure how you can do it. And of course, Sewanee has worked to serve the broad whole of the church. It does seem that he and Bonnie are made for Sewanee, and we thank God that they saw that as well, and we'll look forward to welcoming them. Their leadership is marked by grace, and decency, and the ability to unite people in pursuit of shared goals. And Trudy and I, are finishing up our service in Chen Hall. In fact, we're moving tomorrow into the house that Trudy bought and invested more money than we thought proper. And that'll free up Chen Hall for a bit of renovation. But it really is going to be a treat for us to be a part of the Sewanee community on an ongoing basis. Come July 1, we pack up and go to New York for a year. Trudy claims she's going to go cold turkey into retirement and work for the next year, primarily in enjoying New York and being a grandmother for 2 children who live in the same building we'll be in. And I'm bold enough to think I may be able to do some mathematics yet in my life, and I'll be at the Quran Institute of Mathematical Studies at NYU and doing a little work in Columbia. And I hope that at the end of that year I can go back to Sewanee and act like a legitimate mathematics faculty member for at least a few years until the wheels fall off of my wagon. And I promise, John, that I will be a nice, quiet backbencher supporting your work and leadership, and I look forward to doing it.